What up, what up, what up? What is going on, y'all? Real Fans FC podcast. We are live with y'all. Y'all probably notice it up and down. Check it around. Check out the new logos. Guys, get ready to it. Shout out to our main man in the studio, Julian Leonardo, the Costa Rican. So, he did his thing. Guys, we're excited for this new journey ahead. I want Julian to go ahead and break down a little bit what all is going to be happening. New updates you guys probably saw with the page.
Yeah, so basically for everybody out there, if you are fans of the original podcast, Real Fans Podcast, that will now officially moving to its own channel. I did just put up a community post linking to that new channel. If you guys watch this show and that show, if you guys want to keep up with that show, please go subscribe to that channel. There's already videos over there. Go check it out. Greatly support it. I'm going to be notifying a lot of people that are fans of the original show to go over there. I highly recommend you guys to go check out some of that content. We're revamping everything over there as well. We're kind of hitting a new generation of this Real Fans universe. So I'm really excited what's in store for both, not just Real Fans FC, but also Real Fans Podcast over there. So it's also in our channel. If you go to our channel page for Real Fans FC, if you scroll down in our featured channels, you will see our regular show there. So for guys that are fans of that show and all the NFL content, NBA content that we cover over there, please go down and subscribe. We greatly need to restart. It sucks restarting sometimes, but it's something that just had to be done. So I'm grateful for all the people who have watched over the years on Real Fans Podcast on this specific channel. I hope you continue to support us on the other ones and help grow the fan base over there. But as Will's saying, we've got a new look over here, following a new branding, got our new crest. I love the crest. We're going to do some merch events. We got to do some sort of jersey with that crest. That thing goes hard. So got a little bit of a Real Betis kind of vibe to it.
Right. Right.
So yeah, Norwich, not Norwich because that's yellow, but you know what I mean. little Celtic vibe.
Celtic.
But
where's our Scottish people?
Yeah.
If you're Scottish, drop it in the comments. Love to hear from y'all. So, yeah, man.
But let's get into it. Obviously, the biggest competition in the world just happened. Match day 2, Champions League 2. We're going to start off with Aston Villa versus Bayern Munich. The upset that no one predicted. Me and Will both had Bayern in this game, and Bayern struggled a lot. I'm going to bounce it over to you first, Will, and I'll give my thoughts on what I saw from the game.
Yeah, dude. No, interesting game. Like you said, definitely did not see. It really felt like Bayern, and Bayern still had a decent amount of control in the game. But that was the Aston Villa game plan from all along. Unai Emery, I mean, you have to give it to the guy. Even Thierry Henry said it. He's a mastermind. He's one of the best in the game right now. And what he's doing with Aston Villa, not only obviously in this upcoming Champions League, already 2 for 2, 2 big games, top of the leaderboard. They're up there right now with some of the big dogs in Liverpool and some other teams up there. We're going to talk about that in a second, but there's a lot of other teams up there. But yeah, no, congrats to Aston Villa. Listen, dude, 2 words, John Duran. I mean, this guy, this is the Colombian sensation, man. This guy is incredible. I saw on the podcast or on the post game on CBS, Paramount Plus Golazo. Even Thierry Henry asked him, he said, listen, how did you know that awareness? Where did you know when Manuel Neuer came out? John Duran said straight up, I just know where the goal is at. I know where to kick it. This kid's going to be incredible. He got a call up with Colombia. Next week, we're going to be seeing him play in that World Cup qualifiers for CONMEBOL. So it's exciting. But listen, Dibu Martinez, no John McGinn as well. Leon Bailey didn't come off. I mean, Ollie Watkins had a solid game. But listen, Aston Villa played the Aston Villa way. I think Pau Torres was big as well in the back for them. Their midfield was solid. So big ups to the guys.
Yeah, shout out to Aston Villa and shout out to John Duran. This was a guy, when he got transferred from Chicago to Aston Villa, I was shocked. I'm like, I saw this guy in MLS. He didn't really look that he looked good, but for the money he got sold for, I was really surprised. I was kind of shocked. I think it was 18 million. Yeah, something around there. And I was just kind of I think he had something like 8 goals. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys know his career in Chicago. But he was one of those transfers that somewhere where I'm like, interesting. I mean, I guess he's young. I mean, obviously he played well in Colombia, which got him the transfer to MLS in the first place. But yeah, man, now it's coming to fruition. Dude has what does he have? 5 goals, 6 goals in all comps now. He is on a complete run coming off the bench. I'm curious if he's going to get that starting spot. but he's a lethal killer. He's on a hot streak, and that's a guy you just don't want to pull out. Another guy on a hot streak, Emi Martinez. Like you said, man, you can't deny it. Dude's probably the best goalkeeper in the world. Is the best goalkeeper in the world. Dude is playing out of his mind. He saved Villa multiple times throughout that game. There's a couple amazing saves and curlers that Bayern was putting on him, and he was able to just knock him out. No big deal. As for the Bayern side, Bayern was getting killed in Villa's transition. Like Villa's counterattack was just so lethal, and Bayern was just getting cooked. And this is kind of same that we saw from Bayern. It looks like they're a little susceptible in the transition game, and it's something I've seen over the past couple of years now. But yeah, and then as last thing I saw from Bayern that really kind of surprised me and it was kind of a game changer was when Musiala came off the bench. Musiala, I don't know why he didn't play 90 minutes. I know he's kind of off and off on an injury right now, but there was a big difference when he got into the game versus before in that first half. He was able to start making chances. I mean, this guy's one of the best like center attacking midfielders in the world, one of the best forwards in the world. The dude, he's been on a hot streak like since the end of last season and into the Euros for Germany and then beginning of this season. So I don't know how much he's banged up, but clearly this was a big game to not have him play 90 minutes. So hopefully going forward, Bayern can get this figured out. They do have a really strong lead with that goal differential that they had in the first game. And then like you roughly said with Leon Bailey, that's a guy who's really kind of on a down streak right now. He got put into the game early and subbed out. And, you know, that's never a good sign to get subbed in and then subbed out in the same game. Obviously he got subbed in because of injury, but the guy needs to get back into form. Hopefully he can get into it soon. But now with the likes of John Duran, that's another guy that's nipping at your heels. And we all know how the Prem is. So, yeah. But overall, a good game. I expected more from Bayern, but yeah, let's move on to the next one. This one was a huge surprise for me. Benfica versus Atletico Madrid.
That's crazy.
What in the hell happened? Atletico Madrid lost 4-0. This is only the second game this season where they gave up more than one goal. The only game before that was against Villarreal. They drew 2-2. So this is the first game giving up more than 2 goals. This is kind of sniffing like Atletico of last year where they were just super leaky. And granted, this is kind of the same team running it back. And what I saw from Benfica was they shut down Griezmann. And when you shut down Griezmann, there is no one else on that team that can create. Koke's not creating. DePaul's not creating. Julian Alvarez is not creating. Correa's not no one's creating. No, they had 0 shots on goal. 4 shots total. Absolutely nothing. And I think Benfica realized that. They played the press to the T. They were on top of everybody. Atletico was making sloppy passes. Oblak actually made the game closer than what it should be. That game could have easily been 7-6-0 because he had a couple saves and Benfica strikers missed a couple bits there. And I'll tell you what, man, Di Maria still got it, bro. He still got it. But shout out to Benfica. Obviously, I think a lot of this has to go from Atleti just making mistake after mistake, just looking bad. On all levels. It just seems like the back line is just not playing well. The sloppy passes. They had an XG of 0.24. It's terrible. They didn't even remotely look like. You would never think that they're competing for the title right now because a lot of Atleti fans are really excited about this season and how it started. But and especially after seeing the Real Madrid game, they just looked rough. And we'll get into Real Madrid next because they're also kind of going through it at the moment. But I do want to shout out to Benfica. They did it. They came in with an amazing game plan. I've seen a little of them play in Liga Portugal, and they're playing well over there as well. They are super fast, super scary team in transition. This might be a dark horse team to look out for and can get you in trap games because they are fast, they are quick, they are organized, and they are lethal. So, yeah, man, what you get from this game?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you as well. Just the lack of it. You know, when I think of Atletico Madrid, you know, in the years past, and you think about these teams, when you think of Champions League ball for Atletico Madrid, you don't think of flat flat feet, not this quick. You almost think dynamite, you think Diego Costa, even like
I think punch him
year
in the
one.
mouth.
Exactly. I'm talking about you get in their face. Dude, I got to say it. Rodrigo De Paul is genuinely one of my favorite players, and obviously the women love the man as well. But, dude, this man, when he plays with Atletico Madrid, it almost seems like he takes the back pedal off a little bit. And I don't want to say he doesn't have the burners going and
because he's Messi's bodyguard.
He's Messi's bodyguard and he's Argentina's, fighter, dude. I don't know. He's their Superman, but it's just this almost like this extra. He's a little bit in. And listen, dude, I've got to say it. How much more with Axel Witsel and Mandava as well? I love Mandava. So I want to say great player with Mozambique. He had a really good AFCON with them as well and whatnot. And he's a phenomenal. He's one of the best players in all of the Southern African region and whatnot. But dude, with Atletico Madrid, he's just fallen off. And the same with Axel Witsel, man. And Jose Maria Roy Jimenez, he's not far from him as well, the Uruguayan. Like, I just see this lack. And I almost feel like Simeone is not getting out-coached. But, and let's just be blunt, dude. When Atletico Madrid leaves Spain, this is another team, especially in the Champions League. It's almost like they don't know how to connect with each other and they fall off a lot. Obviously, I still do think they will qualify to the next round. But like you said, props to Benfica, though. Well deserved. Obviously, whether it's the back line, whether it was Trubin in the gold net, or whether it's, Angel Di Maria still doing Angel Di Maria-like things, this team still possesses a lot of power. Like you said, Benfica is a team to watch out for. So I'm excited to see how the rest of their campaign goes.
One last quick thought. I tell you what, I think they're kind of missing Alvaro Morata a little bit and a little bit of Memphis Depay because, yeah, I mean, he was the main goal scorer from him, and we'll see how well Julian can keep up with it, and same with Correa because it's looking pretty bleak. And like I said, you shut down Griezmann. I don't know who's passing those guys the ball. So, yeah. But anyways, let's go to the other team on the other side of town, Real Madrid versus Lille. In France, this was, I'm not going to lie to you, this one was kind of a snooze fest. This was not a very entertaining game. It was a rough watch going back and watching this game. Super slow start in the beginning. You want to know how slow it was? Was even like, I watched the game live and then I went back to watch the highlights. The highlights just completely skipped over the first half. Like, I think it showed like one or two things and then boom, second half. That was a bad handball by Camavinga. Like, what are you doing, man? It's a set piece, and you're just like flailing your arms around. Keep them tight, dude. Like,
you can tell he hasn't been playing. You can just tell. You can tell he's been on injury for a while. But
bad mistake here. You have Endrick, who I think is just not ready yet. I don't think he's ready for that move. And I was hearing a lot of people. I was seeing a lot of people in Brazil feeling the same way from what I was reading. And even a little bit that I've saw when watching the Brazilian Serie A is like the guy, I don't know if he's ready yet. I think he's immensely talented. I think he has a lot of potential, but I don't know if he's ready yet to live up that hype. I think they're trying to keep him on par with Lamine Yamal, but I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he has his talent level isn't at that. It's not ready. No. And then this was kind of what I was saying with Madrid. I'm really curious how this Mbappe thing was going to pan out. And it's not, at least as it currently is, not working at the moment. I mean, they benched Rodrigo. I think Ancelotti is trying to figure out what's happening. They played this game in a 4-2-2. I mean, a 4-4-2 with Vinny and Endrick up top. And I think they wanted to see if they can rework that magic that they did last year with the 4-4-2. And it's just not working. It feels like they can't create anything. Jude has kind of lost his step since playing with England. I don't know if fucking Harry Maguire like rubbed off on him or whatnot, but like,
yeah,
it just seems like these guys aren't meshing the same way they did last year. And I know it's more than just Mbappe and joining in. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm really curious to see what happens because at the end of the day, this is Real Madrid. This is their tournament. Champions League is where they thrive. And it's weird to see a Real Madrid struggle like this. And we're also seeing them struggle in league play as well. I feel like they can't create. no one knows where to go. I feel like they're stepping over everybody's toes. So I don't know what happens with them going forward, but we'll
Mhm.
see. I mean, shout out to Leo. I thought towards the end they held out very well because Madrid started to pick it up in that second half. And the goalkeeper
Definitely.
for Leo was holding it down. Dude made some incredible
Chevalier.
saves.
Chevalier,
Dude's
man.
playing out of his mind. But
Yeah.
to give what I did notice though was I felt like Real Madrid was just chipping the ball in. Like that was
Mm.
all they were. It was like the only creative thing they can do is like get crowd the box and chip it in. And I'm like, this isn't the Real Madrid I'm used to, man. Like this is a Real
Yeah.
Madrid who creates chances, who can't be stopped, who like is playing beautiful ball. And it just feels like these guys are just let's crowd the box and chip it in. It feels like they're not playing open, not playing free. They're leaving a lot of empty spaces in certain parts of the field. And we'll see if Ancelotti can turn it around. But what did you think of this game? Oh, we lost you a little bit there, Will. All right, you're back.
You guys. Yep. 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 Yeah. Real quick, like you said, Julian. Honestly, I agree, dude. This Real Madrid saga. Shout out my boy Franklin Navarro. Love you, man. Hopefully he's listening to this. We'll see. But dude, I understand that Madrid is this heavy top notch team, and like you said, they're not short of talent. That's not even a question. They're short of playing ability, though. They're short of having enough superstars in the field. Like this team, it almost seems like possesses too much talent. And like you said, Julian, I feel like, obviously starting off real quick with Enrique. Listen, man, I can see he has the ability. He has obviously 100% has the capability, and he's living up, I would say, to his standards. But this pedestal of he's going to be one of the best Brazilians of all time, that's just still far from it. You know what I mean? It really, the way it looks now, it's still miles away. Could it change? Absolutely. But it really just seems like Enrique, it almost seems like he's trying to go in there and say, you know what, let me take it. I'll do it. When in reality, he needs Vinicius. He needs Rodrigo. He needs Jude behind him. He needs Valverde. He needs these guys and Tucumeni and all of them. In regards to the game, though, like you said, Julian Chevalier, listen, dog, that man, he needs to get a call up for the French national team. I don't care if he's a third bench. I don't care if he's the fourth goalkeeper. This guy he's busted his butt, man. And not only in this game, but in League On, and he's 21 years old or 20. He's young, man. He's young.
Fantasy sleeper pick. A fantasy sleeper pick.
Fantasy sleeper pick. I'm telling y'all, check him out. But listen, dude, shout out to him. Shout out to our boy, the lone goal scorer of this game, our CONCACAF guy himself, Jonathan David. Proud of him, man. Did well. Obviously, this saga of whether Jonathan David's going to leave Lille or not leave or what it is. And, I mean, dude, it's literally got us up day and night. I mean, it literally feels like a telenovela with this guy, bro. He's going here. He's not going here. But big ups to Lille. They deserved it. They earned it. They worked for it. Like you said, they had to play that type of game. They went down to Real Madrid's level of Real Madrid is a methodical team. They're not going to kill you 4-0, 7-1. They're going to be methodical and they're going to beat you down and they're going to beat you 2-0, 3-1. You know what I mean? They're going to really pounce on you. But Lille, instead of saying, you know what, let's play fastball, let's kind of play the way that we like to play in Ligue 1, kind of went and equaled that pace to Real Madrid. And like you said, yeah, it was definitely a snooze fest the majority of the game until late in the second half. And other than Jonathan David's penalty kick goal, but that's the way Champions League ball is. So big ups to them. I think they played well. Shout out to the Kosovo striker as well. Segovia, I want to say he links up well, dude. Him and Jonathan, that matchup is nice. And obviously their center back, they're Brazilian, Tiasgo, or I want to say something like that. But no, Lille played well. And I think, like you said, it's just showing, I'm going to be honest, man, the biggest disappointment from this team for me is an Enrique or obviously their goalkeeper. They didn't have Thibaut Courtois, it was the Ukrainian. But it's not any of these guys.
Lunin.
It's Lunin, yeah. It's not Lunin or it's not Jude or it's not even Mbappe. For me, it's Vinicius, man. Like this guy, and I'm talking about all around, and especially in this game, zero effort, zero ability, zero push. And I hate to say this, it still feels like Vinicius has these off-field issues. He cares more about that, the mentality of the game, and he almost has no rhythm. And it seems like when you see him on the field, there's no flow with Vinicius. The dude's one of the best players in the world. He's I would say top 5, maybe not top 3. He's a top 5 player in the world right now. And there's no questioning that. But he just seems to lack that, like, that strength and that compatibility to be able to work well with his teammates and connect well. We've seen him do it in the past. He obviously connects great with Camavinga, and he can match up well with Rodrigo. And, whether it was in the last season when it was Jose Lu coming off the bench, you can tell he can do it. But it almost seems like he needs to be the main star guy. And maybe there's some things off the field that we don't know about, but you can just tell Jude Bellingham, he's pissed off, dude. He's so pissed off. I remember easily in the second half, Lille's on their side of the half, and they're not running him, Endrick, and then also Mbappe, just all standing up front. Nobody's coming back to do the defensive work. And that's so important. As a forward, you have to realize that you can't just be up top always. You're not going to get the perfect ball like Haaland, wait, tap it in, boom, score. You're going to have to come back and play that defensive role.
Fired.
Listen, and it's the truth, man. These guys are not doing that. They're lazy. They're staying up there. Listen, if they want to keep playing that type of ball, they're going to realize that's why they tied Atletico Madrid over the weekend. And obviously our people know I'm not a Real Madrid fan. I don't like them. I want them to lose, but that's just the truth. You keep playing that type of ball, you're not going to get results. So, but I've
you know what this team needs, and they're still relying on them, is they need a prime. They need somebody to take that role of Modric. They need that guy to do the dirty work and create chances.
Jude and Valverde are trying, but you can just tell they
don't have the talent that Modric. They don't have that. They don't have. I don't want to say they don't have the talent. But
they almost don't want to do all the job. Modric did it all. He would go up. He'd come back. He'd go to
and they're still relying on him.
Pass.
And he's like,
they're still relying on him. And that's the thing. I agree. Like Jude, it seems like Jude wants to do all of it, and he's trying to. But the thing is, Modric also as well had other guys to support him in that supporting cast.
Casemiro,
Dani Carvajal, Toni Kroos. It's just not coming up to par. It's almost like he's getting let down by his teammates. The way I see it.
Yeah, it just seems like you need, and now having Kroos not there anymore, I think really is hurting them. Because one thing Modric and Kroos brought were being able to make from the back. And it seems like they're really struggling because I don't know if Jude used to be that guy box to box, but I think England and people have found that he might be best as a center forward because the guy, not a center forward, a center attacking midfielder, because he showed that he can score, he can be an attacking threat. So maybe they're asking him to play more front because of what he did last year, and it just feels like Tchouaméni and Valverde is probably the guy you're closest that could potentially become that, but it seems like no one is really there to be that captain in the back that Kroos and Modric were. And like I said, you can only rely on Modric for so long because he's coming off the bench playing 30 minutes. Their dude's like 38, 37. He's getting old.
Yeah.
They need somebody to step in and take that place. Maybe it's Valverde. Maybe it's Tchouaméni. Those guys are still very young, and maybe they can develop into that. But when I was thinking about it, I'm like, this team is missing that Kroos, and they're missing that prime Modric. They're missing that, and they need that because I think they were very slept on what they did last year for them. But anyways, let's move on to Liverpool versus Bologna. I wanted to cover this game because this was one of those games I thought was going to be a sleeper, good matchup. And in the first 40 minutes, it was. That game was an absolute thriller. Crazy shots up and down. This was a Bologna team that shocked everybody not shocked, but this was a Bologna team that played really well, got themselves in the Champions League through league play. And this is a team that I liked a lot coming into this season. And Liverpool, look, man, Liverpool's playing pretty damn good. Salah's on a great run. Darwin's
Lucho Diaz, McAllister, Szoboszlai.
Diego Jota, who's entered this game. But this Liverpool team, man, is just so good. And watching them play, their ball movement was incredible this game. They were playing so well with their ball movement and just going up and down. But I'm going to give Bologna credit. They stayed with them for the most part, but there's just certain things you just can't stop at the end of the day, and that is Mohamed Salah. Like, the guy played out of his mind, and when he is on, he is the best winger in the world when he's on, and that's how he was this game. Bologna did have a couple close goals, hit the post a couple times, amazing saves made by Liverpool's sons, and Bologna just couldn't finish. I thought Bologna put themselves in a lot of situations where score had great opportunities. Something the stats don't really show is their shots on goal, but they had a lot of very dangerous looks they couldn't necessarily get on goal. And this is a Bologna team where, when you come in the Champions League, and what makes these teams of the Liverpools, of the Real Madrids, of the Bayerns, and what makes them different is being able to obviously just be clinical in those moments and be able to finish it. And hopefully Bologna can still do that. There's still a lot of games left to be played. There's 6 more games left. I think this is a team that's going to make it into the next round. They're really quality. And this is a really tough Liverpool team. So, some of the best defenders in the world, like you said. So, amazing game by both halves. The second half clearly was a little slower, but man, when Mohamed Salah is on fire, he's on fire, and sometimes it's hard to stop. But yeah, I'm excited to see this Bologna team going forward, though. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Not going to be somebody's going to get walked over.
No, definitely not. I agree with you. Like you said, Julian, I think honestly, it was just unlucky for Bologna second week. I mean, I say unlucky, but obviously in the sense all these teams have to play a pot 1 team, and their pot 1 team had to be Liverpool at Anfield, which is no easy place. I mean, we know the infamous nights at Anfield in Champions League, and they competed. Listen, scored that offside goal early in the first half, and looked like they were going to take the lead up early, and then obviously ended up getting called back and whatnot. Not the most familiar with the Bologna roster. I do obviously know our Colombian boy, Gianluca Meni, in the back, and the center back, who looked quite good. I mean, of the likes, of his countrymen of Lucho Diaz and Mohamed Salah on his side, and even Darwin Nunez, he, did well. Like you said, I don't think this Bologna team is a team to definitely be slept on. They remind me of a team like, obviously they're kind of like that. There's that sleeper dog team, but they're almost like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. They're almost kind of like your Atlanta Falcons, or kind of like your New Orleans Saints, or even your Bucks in a way. They're a team that you're going to sleep on and be like, oh yeah, they're not going to do much. I don't expect the most, but they come in there and they're going to punch you in the face, dude.
It's a good soccer analogy that for the people who don't know NFL, Villarreal, a couple years ago, when they made it to a semifinal run, it was just a team that was just like, they're going to punch you in the mouth. They're going to play well. You're going to think it's going to be an easy win, but it's not. And they're going to play you to the last minute. That's what they kind of remind me of. Obviously, time will tell if they make it that far that Villarreal did, to a semifinal. I don't think they will, but it is, like you said, one of those teams where it's like, this is a good team, man, and they play well as a team. So
No, definitely. And shout out to Alexi McAllister. I mean, very well executed goal. Started with him, got it to Salah, gets the cross in. I mean, they just looked overloaded. They looked overpowered. And it wasn't a game, like you said, Julian, it wasn't a game that Bologna just looked bad. It just looked like a game that Liverpool was purely just better. Just a better team on paper and on the field. So,
yeah, it's just like, to me, it was the ball movement and like you said, being clinical and just getting those certain passes that only the best players in the world can get. It's one of those. Yeah. But let's move over to the Arsenal and PSG game. I'm going to bounce it over to you first. What did you think of this game?
Man, dude, all I got to say is 2 words, dog. Not Bukayo Saka, not Leandro Trossard, not Arsenal up or Go Gunners, nothing like that, dude. Straight up, Angel Donnarumma. I forgot Donnaruma's first name, but Gianluca, if I'm not wrong, something like that. But listen, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing on that second goal, bro? I understand the wall's in the way, dude, and his reaction to when the ball goes right by him, just
hands up. Like, this is the ball. This is the ball. This is my hands.
Yeah. Right. Dude, listen, that, and I got to be honest with you, PSG, they remind me of that pickup team. They're so similar. Like, this is an analogy. They remind me of a pickup team when you go play street ball on the side, playing on the corner of your road, and you see some dudes just dogging. You got Onus Dembele clicking up on his shoulder. He's going at it. Dude, Bradley Barcola, I mean, he's flicking everything off. Colomani's the speed demon, dude. And you got Marquinhos, who's going to knock you out. And, dude, William Pacho's incredible, dude. I have to say, he is a good C back. And I think he's one of the best in CONMEBOL right now. There's no question about it. But, dude, you have all this attack. And Hakimi, I mean, come on, man. You have so much capability just on your team. And and Hwang Kan Lin, if I'm not wrong, the South Korean. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but you just have all these ballers, but they almost seem clueless. Just to be blunt with you, dude, and especially on the field. And I got to shout out PSG fans coming out big, man. Showed up big to Arsenal, that
They
night
always do. They run deep, dude.
They run deep, and it's PSG. It's one of the biggest teams in the world. But dude, PSG just reminded me of like the way they played on that game, like a West Ham. Very like we're trying to get a punch, we're trying to battle it out. Like I said, Bradley Barcola is going to be something to watch out for. That dude's dangerous. He's scary. Personally, Koulibaly's got to start. I know this love story saga that they have with Marco or whatever, but dude, get this guy up front, man. Like let him start. And I really feel like, and this is going to sound bad, PSG is one of those teams. I feel like they need a French coach. I love Luis Enrique, great guy. I think he's incredible. But they need these tactics of
really. I don't like Luis Enrique.
I don't think
he's overrated as shit.
I'll be honest. I think he is a little overrated, but Luis Enrique, if he went to Leeds United, he'll get him promoted. You know what I mean? I think he could do something like that, but I don't think he can win a Champions League. That's just a fact. I just don't see him winning a Champions League with PSG.
How bad he did with that Spain team. He was so bad with Spain team.
Right. And he just doesn't utilize these guys to the fullest of their capabilities. And like I said, dude, it's just silly errors. And that's really what killed him. That foul, if I'm not incorrect, it was Nuno Mendes got a foul on Bukayo Saka, a silly one. You don't have to foul him. It was trapped in the corner and he just pushes him off the pitch. And it's like, dude, you just got to think smarter. And PSG, they're just going to, if they make self-inflicted wounds and keep hurting themselves, that these are the types of results they're going to have. And what sucks for PSG is, and I don't want to say, I think they will qualify still, and I'm taking away from Arsenal and talking down on PSG. But the thing is, they've got a tough road ahead of them. Before, I don't know if our guys have watched it. Check it down below in the pod. We're going to drop it in the link. Our Champions League preview. We talked about PSG's schedule. And I mean, Julian, you remember, this is not a light schedule. These are not cupcake walking games. So it's going to be interesting to see how they battle it out. But no, shout out to them, dude. No, Martin Odegaard as well. I mean, incredible, dude. Gabriel Jesus. I mean, all these guys, they, coming off the bench. I mean, obviously as well, Kai Havertz, Leandro Trossard, Bukayo. You could go about all these guys, but they just seem to have this collective effort. And dog, William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes, as much as I hate them, they're the two hottest center backs right now in the league. These guys are in form. Dude, Gabriel loves what he does. And you can tell he's a type of guy. He's like the boss manager of a McDonald's. He clocks in early at 7 a.m. He clocks out at 7 o'clock at night. This guy loves what he does, dude. He's like, you want a chicken sandwich? Boom. Let me get you a chicken sandwich. Hey, man, what type of sauce you need? Barbecue ranch? Perfect. I got you your sauce. This dude loves what he does, and you can tell. And he's having fun out there. So,
man, I'm looking at this schedule because you brought it up. They got PSV next, which PSV is a good team, but there's levels to it. They're going to win that. But then you got Atletico, you got Bayern, you got Salzburg, which they're probably going to beat up on. Then you got City, then you got Stuttgart, which they should win the Stuttgart game, but that's a tough game. Stuttgart's no joke. Stuttgart's no pushover. This is really a Stuttgart team. But man, that's rough. And I could see them losing 4 out of the last 6. Like that is a tough lineup. But yeah, I'm gonna straight up say it, dude. Donnarumma's look. I know I'm Costa Rican, so I might have a little bias here, but that dude is the most overrated bum I have ever seen. They hype him up so much off a 1 Euro run 4 years ago. Or 3 years ago, because COVID. He is so overrated. I don't get it. Even when he took the job from Keylor Navas. Now you look at why? I was even hearing PSG fans why are you taking on Navas? He was getting clean sheets, and then they switched to Donnarumma, and he wasn't. He was. I don't remember the ratio, but he was barely getting clean sheets. I'm like, this is PSG, prime PSG too, where they're just dominating. So I don't know. I know they're trying to usher in a new era over there at Paris Saint-Germain. But look, they looked good in Ligue 1. And I was coming in here. I'm like, look, A lot of people are saying maybe they're not going to win the league this year, that Marseille is looking pretty strong. Lille's looking pretty strong. They could possibly win it, which I don't want to take anything away from them. They are looking pretty strong and they could win the league. But I did say too, like PSG looks good. And at the end of the day, this still is a very talented team. But it's trying to live past that Mbappe era, how well they go going forward. And I don't think, like, what killed them this game was the mistakes, like you said. It's just the mistakes. Like, obviously playing at the Emirates is tough, but we'll see how they're going forward because, like you said, this is not a favorable schedule. Like, that's a tough road ahead. And you're playing Bayern away. Luckily, they got City at home, so that's not too bad. But that's our Champions League match day 2 recap of some of the biggest matchups. Obviously, there's some other ones that I thought were really good. I thought the Girona PSV game was fun to watch. I thought, I have to pull up the list again because I'm drawing a blank at some of the matchups. But there was a couple of good games, but we just wanted to cover some of the big ones and some of the entertaining ones and some of the shocking results that we saw. But let's move back over to our side of the continent, our side of the world, and that is CONCACAF, and our home league is MLS. And there was some big news that also happened Wednesday. Not only Champions League, but then right after you had MLS, you had an amazing matchup between the two juggernauts of MLS and Columbus Crew, a team reigning MLS champions, CONCACAF Champions Cup finalists, Leagues Cup champions. They've been in 3 titles in the calendar year. Now they're fighting Inter Miami for the Supporters Shield. And in a thriller of a game, a back and forth game where I thought Inter Miami looked pretty porous in that first half until right at the end where you had Messi magic. And I just want to say this, people are looking at the 2 Messi goals, the first Messi goal. I think the most slept on part about that first Messi goal was the fucking dime that Jordi Alba dropped. I don't know if you saw this game, but I mean, it just perfect. And I'm like, one thing I was watching, I don't know who said it. I think it was Thierry Henry. Yeah, it was a Thierry Henry clip. And he's like, one of the most slept on things that people do not talk about in world football is the beauty of the long ball that very few defenders in the world can make. Because people always look at the goals, they look at the final passes, the final assists, but no one looks at no one respects the long ball. And while Thierry Henry's talking about this, you just see some of the most beautiful long balls that led to goals because people don't talk about it. And you're like, man, only so many guys can do stuff like that. And it's really impressive. But anyways, back to the game. Right after that, not too long after, Messi scores in the tightest window imaginable between the wall and the goalpost, curves it around the wall and squeezes it right in. Patrick Schulte. Pochettino was looking at that game, seeing how well Schulte was going to play, and it was kind of rough for him. But nonetheless, they did give up a very porous, just bad mistake by Schulte and Carmacho at the end, just completely jumping on. I don't know who was at fault there. I usually tend to blame the defenders and something like that because usually the goalie should say something, and if the defender's not listening, but I don't know, who knows. But it led to a Suarez easy header right into the goal, and then later in that half, you have Carmacho that just tries to drop kick like Busquets' ankle. Like, what the fuck was that? Studs up, jumps off the ground, doesn't even slide. And what? So it leaves Columbus down a man, and even down a man, Columbus was still looking lethal. They were still pushing Miami right up against the ropes. They were having a tough time trying to stop them. And there was a couple moments where I'm like, oh man, like I thought Cucho was about to put one away, but he didn't. And then 2 bad handballs get called. One I thought was actually a really good play by Farsi to kick it back at Noah Allen and get the handball there. And then another one by Ian Frey. But then, man, Big Draco comes to the rescue. And mind you, this was a very poor, baby. This was a very poor penalty kick by Cucho Hernandez. this is like, I don't know what they jinxed him or what, but they said Cujo has made the last 9 penalties, and he even looked like a little nervous going up there, like because it was everything was on the not everything was on the line, but like this is a big moment on the
Game.
line if you
Yeah.
want to compete in the Supporters Shield race, and gives Drake Callender an easy read and an easy save. And man, I about jumped out of my couch. I was like, let's fucking go. For you guys that don't know, I am an Inter Miami fan. I work for the team. I've been there since day one. I'm not a Messi fan. Well, I'm a Messi fan, but I'm not there because I'm a Messi fan. I've been a part of this Inter Miami team from the jump when we fucking sucked. So don't give me that bullshit for the new fans that are listening who don't already know who we are. But yeah, incredible scenes. And then right at the end, they were just barely able to hold off. Like I said, I thought the game was closer than it should have been. We don't know how, people are kind of whatever about Tata Martino's tactics and whatnot. I'm not a huge fan of it, but yeah, what'd you think of the game? I kind of recapped a good amount of it, but like, what'd you
Yeah. I think you honestly really summed it up pretty well, Julian. Like you said, dude, big congrats to Inter Miami. I think we both predicted this. Obviously, I know you did. I as well, right there with you. You know what I mean, man? Listen, I know you guys are an arch in-state rival right down the road, the I-4 arch enemy, US 2070, whatever you guys want to call it. But, big congrats to you guys. Yeah, exactly. Massive congrats to you guys. And, no, dude, really well deserved, and you guys definitely, who hopped on? Jeez, hey, speaking of Inter Miami,
fucking done with technology, man. I fucking got kicked out of the office on Wednesday because the fucking Xfinity went out, and then my camera wants to like lock its settings and be black. It was horrible.
Yeah, but we're talking about, to catch you up, Adam, we're talking about Inter Miami and the amazing game that we saw this past Wednesday. So give us your thoughts of what you saw from the game. I already kind of gave a recap of everything that happened, so just, let us know what you thought of the tactics, the game, and
if you call yourself an MLS fan, that was the game of the season. By far. It had everything. I mean, that was just insane. Boy, oh boy. I mean, there was a lot of ups and downs from a Miami perspective. I think, looking at the scoreline, I think Miami got lucky. I think some of those calls were a little iffy, Yeah, they got 2 pens, but, there was a good comment made, one of the only good comments made by Taylor Twellman, because I think he kind of sucks.
This man hates Taylor Twellman. I like Taylor Twellman personally.
What's his famous comment? What is Taylor's comment?
First.
Dude, I
literally sent a message, though. I literally sent a message in the chat saying, like, if you had just turned this game on, you would think that Inter Miami got the red card. And then after I send that, I, like, turn the volume up, and then I hear Taylor Twellman go that. He goes, oh, you'd think Inter Miami have 10 men. And that is why I'm saying it here, and I'm saying it right now for all you folks out there. As much as I love my Inter Miami, and I'm glad we won the Shield, we are not winning the MLS Cup.
Ooh,
I don't think there's a shot we win the MLS Cup.
I agree with that.
You're telling me that you get further into, where there's semifinals and a final. You're telling me we don't have one game where something doesn't go right and we're chasing the game, or it's just not falling for us, or like our defense is Swiss cheese that day. Like, all it takes is one game. We can make it all the way to the final and have a bad game. I think that this team, and the expectations are high too. So when they, inevitably, if they don't win it, everybody's going to be like, oh, what a failure. This team couldn't even win with Messi. And it's going to be true. My biggest comparison that I like to always put, and I've been feeling this when I watch more and more Inter Miami games lately. It's kind of like if you were a Miami Heat fan when there was the big three. Was it fun? Yes. Were we winning championships? Yes. And when we look back on those times, do you have good memories on it? Absolutely. But if you won, congratulations. You just did what you were supposed to do. If you lose, wow, look at these fucking idiots. They got LeBron, Wade, and Bosch, and they couldn't win. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's kind of like now you're expected to win. So it's like the final whistle blows and it's not the same feeling as winning, the Leagues Cup the last time because it's more just like, all right, good. We finally got it. Now let's go to the playoffs. It doesn't quite have that same feeling anymore. So that's a comparison I like to give is the Heat Big Three because that's kind of how it felt. It's like, okay, you lost in the finals, failure season. Oh, you won the championship. Congrats. Like it's celebrate, but you got LeBron. So that's how I feel right now.
I'm actually gonna I'm gonna disagree. I think they're like the favorites to win the cup. Like
Well,
I
they're the
feel like no one's
favorites,
gonna
but
stop them. No, but I'll say this: I don't think anyone's gonna stop. You just beat the best team, in my opinion, the best team in MLS with essentially no defenders. Play like you said, playing Swiss cheese defense.
I mean,
And this
fucking
is
Jesus
still a
Christ.
messy.
Drake
The thing too,
Calendar's the
this is
reason
still,
they even won the Shield that day.
yeah. Well, and if you could say too, like you go back and look, people want to say that Columbus had Inter Miami on the ropes, but Columbus, I mean, they got lucky too. They had two handballs in the box and got two pens and only converted on one. They only had one true goal where they really looked dangerous. You go back and watch that game, they didn't really have a ton of shots on goal. It wasn't like Drake Calendar was stopping shots left and right either.
There were a ton
So
of dangerous balls in, though. I felt like there was so many times the ball's whipped in or a
really,
cross
I
comes
didn't
in,
feel
and you
like
feel like if just somebody was a few inches closer, a couple feet closer, that's a goal every time. And I just feel like they're not getting.
and remember
They're not.
too,
They're not dominant. Like the only one who I feel like commands the aerial presence in the defense is Drake. I don't think anybody else can get up there and win a header
Drake of the
consistently.
305, baby.
and I will say too, that was a questionable offsides call to call off that goal. To say Diego Gomez was offsides, that ball was not close to Diego Gomez to take that goal away from Chelo Wagon. So I don't know. Like I think a lot of you're not the only one, Adam. Like I've heard a lot of Inter Miami fans say that, but like I don't know. Like I don't think Columbus necessarily played the best ball either. To me, look, the one thing there's a couple things that play here. This is Inter Miami team where Messi himself and Busquets, they're all saying that he's still getting healthy. He's still trying to figure it out. We are going to get a lot of players back that was on suspension. Tomas Aviles is coming back off suspension. Someone else somebody else got Redondo is going to get yellow card accumulation suspended. So and Martinez is going to come back healthy right before the playoffs. So things should tighten up defensively leading into the playoffs. I think this is a team against all odds that no one had us picking. So like, I mean, people say like they expect us to compete for the MLS Cup and win an MLS Cup. No one expected them to have a supporters shield. Not even Inter Miami fans had them winning supporters shield because we all knew all the international players that we had, all the international players that were going to go off and go international duty. Messi being gone for 2 months, Suarez being old. Like there's a lot, the defense playing carousel. And you know what? Even after all that, I don't even think they're the best team on paper or the best team. I should not say on paper. They probably are the best team on paper, but like the best team that we saw playing, but yet they still got results. And now they're in a position to beat the record for the greatest regular season ever in MLS history. To me, you beat Columbus, you beat Cincinnati. The only team I'm really worried about is when you get to that final. I'm not really concerned about the final itself, leading up to the final. I think obviously facing Columbus is going to be tough. Cincinnati doesn't scare me anymore. Facing Columbus again, because you're going to run into Columbus again. It's inevitable. You're going to run into them again.
On a team, Julian. You're sleeping on a team. You're sleeping on them, man. Orlando, y'all are sleeping on them, bro.
Yeah, okay.
Listen. I'll say my piece real quick, and I'm out of here, guys. I want to drop it.
Yeah, no problem.
Listen, with the playoffs in this format, Adam, and Julian, both of you guys realize, and you guys both know this. You've been, keeping up with the MLS longer, way before I have, but I've seen it myself. The MLS, this playoff format, it literally reminds me of it's the most American format, and it's the playoffs. You know what I mean? It is this MLS, like, here we go, Toronto's going to Nashville, like kick it back, and I'm not saying that the favorites don't always win. The majority of times they do, kind of similar to the NFL, to the NBA, even the NHL, but the thing is, like, it seems so, and it reminds me a lot of the MLB, the MLS. Like last night, the Mets went into Milwaukee and they just knocked off the Brewers in a 3-game series. Incredible game, by the way. That was awesome. But the point, like, really is in the playoffs. And I agree kind of with Adam a little bit. I will say, though, I agree with Julian as well. You guys are the favorites 100%, undoubtedly.
No.
And if we're talking about just the East, that's not even a question. Y'all are definitely, it's I would say Columbus is they're coming back a little bit, but they still have a ways to go to catch y'all. Just to be straightforward, anything can happen, though. You guys have a rainy night in Miami. Something's just kind of nobody's clicking. Noah Allen picked up an injury. Jordi Alba got sick before the game. I don't know, some shit like that. Dude, be careful. New York Red Bulls off the road. They come in there, slap you in the face. You guys are out in the second round. Things like that can happen. Obviously I'm not trying to pull an Alexi Wallace card right now. Yeah, no. And I don't want to sound like Alexi Wallace and be like, you're just magically something's going to happen. Something, you know what I mean? Just basing it off of that. But things do happen in our amazing game that we love, like we said. And real quick, I'll leave it because I know you guys are going to talk about it. Saprissa sucks. I don't know what their deal is. Panamanian football's on the rise. Costa Rican football's on the drop. I don't know what happened, but boys, I appreciate y'all. We'll keep it tuned and see y'all later in this week. So I'll see y'all.
All right. See you, Will. Adam, I do want to transition to this.
Yeah, just real quick.
No, we're not going to get off. We're not going to get off Miami. So
I know. I just want to say real quick though. On Will's point that anything can happen. I know you guys spoke about this earlier, but and I know I didn't pick every game, but I was 1 for 5 on my Champions League parlay. It doesn't get much worse than that. I mean, seriously, Liverpool was the only team that won on my parlay. Yes, I know. I had fucking Bayern and Real Madrid. Okay, I get
PSG?
it. No. I actually only took Arsenal as a single when Hard Rock boosted it. I didn't want to touch that game, but then they boosted it, so I put like $3 on it. So it was like a pretty much double your money type thing. So I won like $6. So all right, cool.
All right. So on to the next topic. We're going to stick with Inter Miami here. So there's a lot of rumors floating around about Inter Miami because they won the Supporters Shield that they have qualified for the Club World Cup. As we all know, all the CONCACAF spots were taken up due to the 4 champions from the CONCACAF Champions Cup being Monterrey, Seattle Sounders, Club Leon, and Pachuca, but there is still 1 spot left for the host nation. Now, the weird thing is that, U.S. Soccer and MLS haven't really said how they're going to award that final host nation spot. It's been kind of up in the air. People assumed it's probably going to be MLS Cup winner. Maybe it's going to be Supporters Shield. And now there's rumors coming out a couple months ago that they were debating between whether it's going to be the Supporters Shield winner or if it's going to be the MLS Cup winner. Now, there's a lot of, you're going to get a lot of heat. But Adam, I want to point this to you. Do you think that they were purposely waiting to see how this Inter Miami season went? And now that Inter Miami is Supporters Shield winners, they feel more justified to say that, hey, we picked Inter Miami, and that they wanted to wait to see till they got it on sporting merit. Now, I'll let you start off with that. What do you think there's some sort of like from U.S. Soccer saying let's wait?
Oh, 100%. I think 100%. The way, if you look and read some of these articles and see how like the news came out, it's very shady. This whole thing, it reeks of exactly what you were saying. Let's wait and see how Inter Miami's gonna go. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody in a boardroom somewhere said those exact fucking words. Like, I'm not even kidding you.
Honestly, yeah.
Like it's literally sitting there and like, hey man, you know what? We could do that, but let's see how this Inter Miami season plays out. So they kind of wrote something in there and they were like, we'll decide later type thing, or it could be this, it could be that, so that way they can make that decision in the future. I mean, what so look at if I'm correct, the past. Do you remember the past 3 Supporter Shield winners? I know One of them was
Last
Cincinnati.
year was Cincinnati. The year
because
before
we had
that
Cincinnati.
was LA because they got the LA. Yeah, LA. And then the year
LAFC,
before
that's right,
that,
okay.
and then the year
New
before
England,
that,
right?
it was New England where they got the record.
So none of those teams have Club World Cup berth, as far as we know, correct? Because that's what I was reading. I was reading that basically, okay, so they're thinking about Inter Miami, but then you look at the other three teams. Why aren't they in it? Why wasn't there a discussion about that? So I just think that all of a sudden Inter Miami wins it, and now you're like, you know what? The Supporters Shield can get in there. And you know what? They can do whatever they want to do, but I'm sure you'll ask that question later. But all I'm gonna say is it's gonna bite them in the ass.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna go well anyway for an MLS team, to be honest. I just think keep it the same. If they had said that in the beginning of the season, if they said, hey, or even halfway through the season, if they said, you know what, guys, we've decided that we're gonna do the Supporters Shield as the or not CONCACAF, for the Club World Cup.
Yeah, for the
Then
host
you
nation.
can make an then you can make an argument, and you can
some
say
people don't realize it is for the host nation. This is not a CONCACAF spot for the listeners out there. Like whatever happened in CONCACAF Champions Cup and stuff. Yeah, you cannot associate that. This is purely on host nation, just like the World Cup. Just like the prior Club World Cups. And let me note too that the prior Club World Cups in the previous format, the host nation was generally the champion of the league.
Yeah.
So
So I'll turn it this way. Things go in favor because I just kind of ripped that whole thing apart. Number one is you can argue that if you're gonna pick anybody that's gonna be the best representative of the league, you should pick the team that had the best season overall.
I actually agree with you on that.
So that I think
makes more sense.
So on that basis, but then again, like I said, just make it consistent. What happened to the other teams? Why weren't they considered? What does a supporter shield really mean in the end? But you look at all these leagues around the world, that's how it is. You finish the league season, you're in first place, you're league winners. So there's an argument to be made that by doing that, they are picking the best possible team. So that's number one. Number two, I think whether or not you were to pick the Supporter Shield winner or an MLS Cup winner, I think the results are going to be the same. Club World Cup is a different animal. We've come a long way.
We saw it with Seattle.
We've come a long way, but there's just too much money out there.
Yeah.
Like, you really think you think Inter Miami would, I'm not saying win or tie, would look or let's forget about that. Have a competitive scoreline against Liverpool.
No. But
they lose that game 6-7-0, right? At least.
Yes.
That's what I think. And I don't care. I think if you pick the MLS Cup winner, the same thing happens.
I think you really struggle. Before I move on to like the actual Club World Cup, because I'm actually super pumped for that tournament. I think it could be the dawn of like the best tournament in the world. I think it could eclipse the Champions League. So I'm actually really excited to see how this turns out, because I think it has a ton of potential to be amazing. But in a way, I honestly agree with you, because how many times have we seen a team that won the MLS Cup and they weren't really the best team? Like, for example, the New England year, they, as it currently stands, the best MLS team ever in a regular season format. That 2021 MLS, like, they have the record, but they fizzled out in the playoffs. They lost to New York. Now, that New York team was pretty solid, but were they the best team? Do you really want to send? Are they really the best that you're going to send? And that's kind of the one caveat to the weird system that we have in this league, in this country. But you also got to remain consistent. If we're saying that the MLS Cup and the team that wins the MLS Cup, they are the champions of the league, then you got to give the berth to the champion of the league. Like, and that's the problem. Now our system is kind of biting in us in our ass because it's like, yeah, you do really want to send your best team. But the problem is now you can't really send your best team because maybe they just happen to have a bad game in a playoffs, or maybe a bad call from the ref, or they got a red card, or whatever it might be, some sort of instant, we all watch knockout football. Shit happens. And now you have a team that's maybe not the best now representing your league. But the problem is that's just how you built this league. That's how it is. I'm not going to lie. I like the playoffs. I think it's part of it. It's just one of the downsides that you have to face, that maybe you're not going to get the best. Most likely you are going to get a very good team. Most likely. But like, I agree with you. They should have established the rules before the season started. Hey, Club World Cup berth on the line. It is going to the Supporters Shield winner.
Or at least halfway through the season. You can get away with that. Like, if they decide halfway through the season, even with Miami in first place, and they say, you know what, we're going to put our eggs on the table here and just say, you know what, this is better. Because we feel like the way this season's going, whoever wins the Supporters Shield is a worthy, pick for that last spot. Then I also am okay with that. I don't necessarily feel like you have to make the decision at the beginning of the season. Obviously, that's the best choice. That's what they should have done. But I don't think they needed to do that. They could have just done this before everything was all said and done. Before it was pretty much a lock that Inter Miami was going to win the Supporters Shield. If they had announced it, I think you can make arguments that, like, hey, you know what? Maybe they got a point and they were like, you know what? This league season's going well. Because you can make that argument. You could say, listen, this is crazy. They're looking very good even without Messi. So anybody who wins the Supporters Shield this year is worthy. And then nobody's going to argue with you.
And also, too, I do want to point out, people are saying, I don't know how true it is, that apparently this selection is done by FIFA, which I think is kind of weird. Like, why would FIFA pick the host nation club? Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Like, I know people are saying it's in FIFA's decision, but I don't know how true that is.
I mean, maybe
if you guys can let us know in the comments,
something.
I'm curious. But like,
I wouldn't be surprised if they have a not necessarily a seat at the table, but like an influence. Like, they can say, like, hey guys, you really we can't make you pick a team, but it'd be really cool if you picked the Supporters Shield winner, or if you picked, they could have even said Inter Miami for all we know, and we don't know that
because we all know what FIFA's trying to do. Because FIFA wants to promote this tournament. It's a brand new rendition of this. They want it to be successful, and we all know that FIFA, there's a reason why we got the Club World Cup and the World Cup. They really want to grow this soccer market over here. They know the money that there is. They look at the NFL, they look at the NBA, they want a slice of the pie. And how do you do that is by showcasing your best player who plays in this current league, and that is Lionel Messi, and obviously the biggest name in the world. But look, it looks like Miami's going to get it based off merit, because to me, I have them winning. If they don't win, I'd be okay if you give it to an LAFC or to a LA Galaxy, but will they do that? And I don't think we're going to get the answer to that until the season's officially over and the champion has been crowned. But I'll tell you one thing, and mind you, we are both Miami fans, and we want I don't know about Adam, but I would love to see Inter Miami in the Club World Cup. That sounds fucking awesome, to think that we went from playing like fucking Birmingham, Alabama team to like Liverpool.
Or
like, that's
Miami
the beautiful
FC.
thing. Yeah, that's dude. We're playing at FIU Stadium to now playing in Anfield. Like, well, not that playing in Anfield, they're playing in the United States, but you know what I mean. You're playing that's the one beautiful thing about this game. But
at the Hard Rock Stadium too, so we might actually get to see that. How cool would it be to get to see Inter Miami take the field at Hard Rock Stadium?
Yeah,
that would be sick.
I do want to. Yeah, and you know how much what's his name would hate it.
He would hate it, but he can't do shit about it because they're fucking hosting it. They got the contract signed.
Why am I Stephen Ross? He would fucking hate it. He would hate it because he hates MLS. It would be so fun, and they're going to make it work if they get qualified. But I'll tell you what, if I was a fan of the team who was the MLS Cup champion, and then they get awarded to Miami who's a Supporters Shield, I'd be pissed. I wouldn't be pissed if they said that from the jump. But the problem is they didn't. And that's where the shadiness comes. And I would agree with a lot of people there. But
they could even get away with it if somebody who wins the MLS Cup is already has a berth. You know what I mean? So that would even work.
Seattle wins,
so like,
yeah,
exactly. They could,
because 100%. I don't know if I'd be pissed if I was a MLS Cup finalist getting it. I mean, usually they give it to the next person in line, but like, I think, look, if Seattle, let's say hypothetically, Seattle's the only team that could qualify twice. If Seattle wins it, I think giving it to the Supporters Shield makes the most sense, honestly. I know some people would hate that because they just let the hate on Miami now. But, you did bring up an interesting point, and maybe we can end this on our final topic, is how do you think MLS teams would compete in the Club World Cup? So I'll start first because obviously we already know Seattle's going to be in there. Right now, we don't know. Obviously, the rumors are it's going to be Inter Miami, but say it's not Inter Miami. Let's throw Columbus. Let's throw LA Galaxy. Let's throw LAFC. Those are probably the 4 teams that are surefire bets to win the cup. Obviously, unless all things go hell. You can maybe even throw Cincinnati in there, even though I don't think Cincinnati it's not at that upper echelon they were last year. But I would say those are probably the 4 like big teams. So how do you think they would compete? Because mind you, it's not just European clubs. I mean, we're talking about South American clubs. There's going to be 6 South American clubs. There's 4 from Asia, 4 from Africa, and 4 from CONCACAF, and then 1 from Oceania. And then, 5 from CONCACAF if you include the host nation slot. But like, how do you think they would do? I know you think they'd get smacked around by Europe, but...
Yeah, if it'll be a disaster. I'll start by saying this. It'll be a disaster for UEFA if a UEFA team does not win. So if you look at the teams in Europe that are qualified, that are qualified, you got Chelsea, Real Madrid, Manchester City, Bayern Munich, PSG, Inter Milan, Porto, Benfica, Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, and Red Bull Salzburg.
Dude, Red Bull Salzburg was the funniest shit. Like, did you see when they qualified? Everybody's like, how the hell did Salzburg qualify?
It is funny, but that's what happens when you're actually in a semi decent league, but it's the kind of league where you win it every year. It's really not that bad. They produce talent. It's just they win it every year. So it's like,
do you think an MLS team could beat Salzburg? Because I think so. I think it'd be one competitive ass game.
I think they could, but I wouldn't bet on them. I genuinely believe that every UEFA team would beat any MLS team.
I agree with all the ones that have qualified.
Now I think it's more fun to talk about, who do you think would MLS compete with? I think they can compete with, shit. I only think they can compete with Auckland City. I think they could beat Auckland City. I think the OFC slot is going to be the cakewalk of
I don't know.
Of the entire. You don't think so? I mean, there's some good teams in all of these.
It's more than OFC. I don't think Auckland City is the only team you can beat. I don't believe that.
Well, I think because you look at AFC, I think that the top 2 teams right there, Al Hilal and Urawa Red Diamonds. The Red Diamonds are actually a fucking good team. They're a great team in the J League. They've won the AFC Champions League. You have this UAE team, Al Ain. They got some players. Even the Korean team apparently isn't so bad in the K.
They got off ranking. They made enough ranking.
Yeah, they made enough ranking, so I think you can make an argument for that one. Then for Africa, I don't think anybody's touching Al Ali. They're like,
isn't that who Seattle lost to?
They're freaking great in Egypt. Egypt's really underrated league. Don't know too much about Morocco and Tunisia, but North Africa tends to be where the actual, if there, you can produce international players in like Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal and stuff like that, but when it comes to like leagues, you're really only going to
The
see
Moroccan and Egyptian.
in like
league,
like Egyptian. The Egyptian league's the best in the entire. Like I'm surprised to see a South African team in there, although Kaiser
I think the
Chiefs
Moroccan league's pretty good
are in
too.
there. So and then in CONCACAF, I mean, yeah, you can make arguments because you watch Leagues Cup all the time, but I don't think they can beat any of the CONMEBOL teams.
All right, I'll say this. I think you can compete with Salzburg. I think they really could. I think they could win it. I don't know if they will win it. I don't know if they're the favorites. I think that's a neck and neck matchup. The only thing I would give Salzburg the edge is they know what it's like to compete at these high levels. That's the edge, and that's important because the problem with that we have in CONCACAF is you don't have a ton of experience at those higher levels. Obviously, you get the top Mexican flight teams, but we know there's a lot of controversy around Liga MX and stuff like that. But like, the only thing is I don't necessarily agree with you is do you think any of those teams in the AFC and CAF, yes, they probably have higher wage bills, but would you say that any of those leagues are better than MLS? I would say no. I don't think the Saudi League's better. I respect the J League. I think J League's on the rise. I would say it's kind of neck and neck, but I would probably give the edge to MLS because MLS pulls a lot more international players and a lot more money. I don't think the UAE or the Korean league's better than MLS. And now we go to CAF.
But I don't think it's about that though. I think it's about the best teams. Even if they're top heavy leagues, that may be true. And yes, they are. Especially if you look at like Saudi Arabia.
I'll say this. Yeah, okay. I take
it's a top heavy league, but
it's a very good team.
Those leagues, still feel like you do have a point, but the top teams, yes, okay, we'll Al Hilal, but I think that the Red Diamonds, that top level J League team is better than the top tier MLS team.
Well, I'll say this. Right now, there's only one MLS team qualified. So let's say Seattle. I don't think modern day Seattle, they can. Seattle that won the Champions Cup, yes, they could. They can compete. Now, if we're talking about the four teams, we're talking about Inter Miami, Columbus, LAFC, and LA Galaxy. Dude, LA Galaxy and LAFC and Inter Miami. I think in a tournament setting, all those teams, especially, I think Messi can turn up in a tournament setting. I think they can get some legs under them. You can get Suarez juiced up to the fucking T. You can get, at the end of the day, it's still quality. I mean, and then you look at Galaxy's a team I like a lot where you have Marco Royce, you have Ricky Puig, you have Gabriel Peck, who's one of the most bright Brazilian youngsters that came out of the league this past year. Joseph Paintsil, who was a goal machine in Belgium. Like, I see what you mean, but I think we also got ballers too. And there's a reason why we are kind of ranked ahead above some of these other leagues. But they are top heavy, and I will give you that. Al Hilal, I'll take back what I said. Al Hilal is obviously like an amazing team. I think the Japanese team is going to be very, very interesting because I do think there's, in a lot of ways, MLS and J League have a lot of similarities. I think the only reason why we have the edge is just we bring in a lot more transfers. I think it's hard for them to, just due to sheer location, it's hard for them to recruit. But the Mexican teams are tough. I will say this, you already know Monterrey is going to come correct. They are competitive. They have in previous Club World Cups, they have experience in those and have played well. I think, Monterrey put Liverpool to the fucking brink on one of those years. I think when they won it, obviously. So what would that have been, 2021, 2022? I remember they had that was Rodolfo Pizarro's breakout year. He balled out against Liverpool for Monterrey. I think an MLS team could compete against a CONMEBOL team, but I don't think they win. I think they would struggle. I don't think it would be a blowout though. Versus an MLS team against Inter or Liverpool or Chelsea or Real Madrid, those are going to be blowouts. I'm gonna be real, those would be blowouts. But I do think they compete against maybe in Argentina. I think they can compete against River Boca. Because I do think that Argentinian League, MLS League are kind of on the same wavelength, except I do think Boca and River would dominate MLS, but the rest of it, I think it's all about the same level. So, and then the OFC, I think they could be, the one thing that would concern me as an MLS fan is just the lack of exposure to these other teams. Like you don't
Yeah.
see it. That's the only thing. And the most you get out of it is that top flight Mexican. And even if I was a Monterrey fan or a Leon fan, I would feel that same way where they haven't really, it's very rare that they ever get to get tested. It's tough outside of a friendly environment. Obviously, they play in friendly, so it's different. But I don't know, man. I do what I'm excited for. I'm not really excited so much to. I mean, would it be cool to see Inter Miami versus Barcelona in a real match? That'd be pretty fucking sweet. I'm not gonna lie. And I can't wait to see like a River Plate versus Chelsea. Here's what I tell you: the matchups I'm interested in see. I would love to. I want to see CONCACAF versus Africa and Asia. I think those are going to be good matches, and I'm really excited to see CONMEBOL, especially the Brazilian teams in particular, like Palmeiras and Fluminense, to play against the giants of Europe. Because
I totally agree.
we see how
that'll
they
be
can
must watch. Yeah,
and,
especially
and
if they
Brazilians
come both,
go
full
hard.
squad. Yeah,
and
if
go
everybody's
hard for
coming
the
full
Club World
strength,
Cup.
that'll be must watch TV.
And the one thing, and we can end on this note. I'll give you one more thought. And you can end it. Is people, mostly European fans, don't like the idea of this, or always thought the Club World Cup was stupid. But for everybody else in the world, this is a very big deal. Like I know for a fact, South Americans, especially Brazilians, they take the Club World Cup serious, and they have over the past 20 years. They take it very serious. They want to win. They find a lot of pride in it. European teams, obviously, they kind of look down on everybody else, and same thing with European fans. But I think this is really big, and I think it really has the potential to be something huge because, there's football outside of Europe, man. And I think it's a great spotlight for some of these teams and these clubs and players to get some notoriety and some fame off of this. And I'm excited to see, just to see stuff you don't see every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the cool stuff. To see Seattle Sounders play Uwa Red Dragons, I probably butchered the fuck out of that name, but like the Red Diamonds,
it seems like a tongue twister. I just say the Red Diamonds.
Dude, is that not must?
I don't know.
Is that not must watch? Like, wouldn't you love to see that? Or Inter Miami versus River, or Inter Miami versus Boca? Like that's that's cool stuff.
This format.
That's
what
cool.
I'll leave it on is, I will give them credit for this format. It has the potential to really, it always seemed like the Club World Cup was kind of an afterthought. The way the groups worked, I like to use this analogy a lot on this podcast, but it's very useful. If you ever played Football Manager, and you've had to do the Club World Cup because you won the Champions League, and you finally get to that season where you're in the Club World Cup, you realize how stupid it is because it's in a period of time where half your players are on vacation. So you can't even bring all your players in there. Half of them are on vacation, and you have two teams in your group. And only one team makes it through. So if you lose one game or even draw one game, you're leaving it up to chance. You need to win both games or else you're not getting through. So it was always kind of weird because it's like, wait, so you're telling me a lot of these teams don't have a full squad, and yet they have to show up and play a competitive game. So it always, that's why it just seemed like an afterthought, and I wouldn't say nobody cared, but if you look at like the Champions League or something like that, if you're going to ask Real Madrid
teams,
which one are you going to want to win, they're going to tell you, and it's going to be the Champions League. But I think with this format and the way they're setting it up, it has the potential to really bring add another prestigious tournament that people can watch for club football. Bringing the world together, because with Champions League being so big in all of these countries, it's getting so big now with CONCACAF Champions League. A lot of people are starting to watch that. The Asian Champions League, there's people talking about that too. People like to see this top powerhouses of different countries and different regions match up. And it just makes it that much more exciting when you have South America and Europe, or Africa versus North America. that's interesting. And getting more teams involved and making it a proper tournament, I think, we'll see how it goes, but I have high hopes and I'm really excited.
Yeah, man. And we're going to end it off on that note. I want to thank everybody for making it to the end of this podcast. Man, it feels like we had 2 podcasts because the first one,
Yeah, I know, right?
Will was here for a little bit and then Adam took over. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for making it to the end. And like I said in the beginning of the show, if you are a fan of Real Fans Podcast, the original show with Gabe and I, and talk NFL and NBA and other things around American sports, please go subscribe to the new channel. We greatly appreciate it. And it will mean a lot if you're a fan of both and you started watching this channel with the intent of watching that show. I highly recommend going over there. We got some cool stuff cooking that we're going to do. We got some cool stuff cooking here, as you can already see from some of the graphics and new look and uplift that we're starting to do. We're going to have a social medias up soon for Real Fans FC. The current social media platforms are going to stay as is, but for the Real Fans Podcast, but we're going to create all new stuff for Real Fans FC to keep things separate and keep things good and kind of have their own little flavor. So something I should have done a while ago, but I've been kind of pushing off. But yeah, and then also got some big news coming up soon about a potential website I'm hoping to get up in the relatively near future. So yeah, I do want to, like I said, if you're listening to us on audio platforms, go subscribe to the YouTube channels. If you're listening to us on YouTube, go subscribe and follow us and leave a review on the audio platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, so on and so forth. You know the drill. And yeah, thank you guys. Love you guys. See you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.